spent the last few days I spent the last few days with someone I met on one of the apps. It was kind of one of those, I joined the apps with the intention of looking for a partner, looking for a connection, which was new to me. It was a new experience. Probably explained it last time. And matched with a fair amount of people. It was way too much, way too quickly. So I went on a few first dates. It was interesting because there was, if it was an isolated event, like not being on an app and not having matched with multiple people, but just someone I met and had, I think, tea with 3 of them and 2 video calls. Every single one of them I would have gone on a second date with, again, if it was an isolated event. So that was an interesting experience. I've never gone on multiple dates with multiple people at the same time. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world. Glad I had some options. That was cool, but it was just a little strange. Didn't feel great. Long story short there is that one of them in particular really connected with. And so went on a second and then third date. Yeah, and then spent quite a bit of time with them over the last few days. And it's interesting, just this whole project, obviously, and then this being what the experience was, the capacity that I have to just be myself after spending the last 2 months really diving in, and after letting go of my quest for enlightenment, that freedom that I talked about desiring, just being free to be myself as I am, free to let others be themselves as they are, this moment's be as it is. I noticed an immediate impact, an immediate difference in how I am just showing up, just being around people. And there's just a very deep, relaxed sense around this person. Just being myself, them being themselves. So I'll keep an update on that, but that was really awesome. There's one of the points that I'm at in this project is the funding that I originally received, or that's been slowly coming in, has gotten me this far, but it's kind of dried up. So I'm going to have to pivot and either get more consistent funding or get some sort of part-time job or go back to coaching while I continue this. And so really this seems to be morphing into, it started with an isolation, but now it's morphing into how do I play the game of presence in my everyday life? And doing it in a way, again, that is just oriented differently. It's not oriented towards enlightenment. It's oriented towards just embracing the moment on a very deep level, or just a very simple level too. Just, hey, I'm here. This is what the experience is. Be with it. Be with it all. And if that comes with shitty emotions, that's what it comes with. If it comes with elation, great. If it comes with no emotions, okay. If I'm numbed out, if I'm thinking a lot, then that's the experience. If I'm deeply present in the game of presence and I'm feeling everything that I see, okay. And then noticing, while obviously I have let go of the enlightenment, there are still things that my organism wants to move towards or gravitates towards and then gravitates away from. There are goals and desires that I have, and then there are things that I don't want, and just allowing all that to be there. So this is really, it is more of the Game of Presence project is morphing into how do I bring presence into my everyday life, into my every experience, into my every interaction with another human, into working, into masturbating, into all the things that I took out for a couple of months that are now back in, as well as all the things that I slowly deepened my practice into, just meditation, breathwork, time in nature, music, all those things. So it's Yeah, which feels good. And in some ways is similar to the life I was living before this, but that 2 months really knocked some stuff loose. And yeah, there's a clarity. There's a clarity happening. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to still really pour myself into this, but in this kind of altered way. Yeah, it feels good. All right, this will be some stream of consciousness. See what comes through. Had some insights that have been helpful for me. The first one that comes up is mediocrity. One of the things that has been really difficult for me over time, or a capacity that I've had to build, is to just see reality as it is, see myself as I am, and not constantly try to tweak that or even hide that from myself, not try to convince myself that I'm something I'm not, and meet the part of myself that does want something different. So for instance, there's a quote that is often cited that it's not our darkness that frightens us most, it's our light. It's that we're powerful beyond measure, and that scares the shit out of us. And what I've been sitting with is like, yeah-ish. There's a sense of when I try that on, there's a part of that makes sense. And maybe I already talked about this, but I'm going to keep going. There's a part of that makes sense in the, like, to me, of my capacity to love, my capacity to be present and to be seen and to see, to hear and to be heard, and to be fully with each moment. That's powerful. And so in that way, I do think that that's one of the scariest things for myself and for others, because it's an incredibly vulnerable act. Because that's also where, if we are rejected in the fullness of our love, and as we are being ourselves completely, it can be really painful, really painful. And I think that's where a lot of trauma actually stems from. So in that regard, I think that that's a really powerful quote. But a little bit alternatively, one of the things that I've been feeling into is how much I reject the parts of myself that are just mediocre, and then the parts of myself that just aren't good at certain things. And how constantly striving to claim that I'm this amazing being, which is a common kind of spiritual thing where it's like, hey, you are one with Creator, you're one with Source, you're one with God. Wake up to that, claim your power. It's like, yeah, that's amazing in some ways, but in other ways, it's very repressive. It can be very repressive or suppressive. And there's a part of me that's just been really feeling into like, no, yeah, I'm not very good at certain things. And if I go through the list of like, yeah, musically, I have some rhythm, but I'm definitely not an awesome musician. There are parts of my body that I look at and I'm like, that could be, my posture could be better. My butt could be a little bit bigger. I could be, right? I can just go through. My nose is kind of big and just look at all the negatives. Also look at all the positives. I can go through, okay, in certain ways in partnership, I am a great partner. In other ways, I don't show up in the best ways. Financially, I have, in some ways not done very well over my professional career. I definitely didn't choose one that is a high paying career, as well as there have been times where it's been a big struggle and I've needed help. My voice, I love to sing, but it's not the best voice in the world. And I can keep going, right? It's actually I could really, like, the list goes on. The list goes on. And for a lot of my life with the not enoughness, I would look at that and feel bad about myself or judge myself or want it to be different. And so the striving to reach my potential in some ways was striving not to be the way I am, because being the way I am isn't glorified. Being the way I am isn't what is sexy in the movies. Being the way I am isn't going to get me what I want in life, maybe, so on and so forth. And then to the point of why I brought up the quote in the first place, being what I am, is that being in my power, or is that not being in my power? Being what I am is that infinite capacity of being connected to source that I've heard so much about, or that I've come in and out of, or not. And it just becomes this kind of unhealthy polarization. So where I've been more recently is just like, hey, yeah, on some level, all of that is true. You don't have the best voice. You need to become more financially responsible and learn to balance that in a better way than you have. Musically, yeah, you're okay. You could, there's a lot more to learn. Yeah, certain areas of your body you don't like very much. Some of it you can impact, some of it you can't. So on and so forth. And do that not in a defeatist way, do that not in a depressive way, but just be like, yeah, this is who I am as I am. Is that okay? Like, is it okay that I am as I am? Or am I going to forever reject myself? Or am I going to forever try to not be what I am? Or am I forever going to try to strive for something else? And in asking that question, I then get to include the part of myself that's not okay with the way I am. I get to include the part of myself that really struggles to accept myself and love myself fully. And so that becomes a part of it. That becomes a part of there will always potentially be a part of myself that is striving for something more. But is it going to keep running the show? Is that going to be the one that I put in the driver's seat? So that's been, in a lot of ways, a powerful looking in the mirror. Just being like, fuck, yeah, okay. And then that full circle is to learning to just be in this, free to be this, let this moment be as it is, myself be as I am. And not in a way that's like, well, I have this infinite potential inside of me, so that makes me feel better about myself. Like, no, man. Like, that's fine. And that's great. And it's not true. But I don't need to make myself feel better about it. It's like, no, yeah, I'm average in a lot of ways. That's okay. I'm below average in some ways. And I'm above average in some ways. That's okay. And if I can just fucking accept that, just let that in, be as I am, infinite space, I can feel it. There's more energy in my body. There's a relief. There's thank God I can just be myself. Gives me freedom to do what I want, including work towards something more, including becoming more compassionate, empathetic, emotionally intelligent, spiritually intelligent, physically fit, financially stable. I can work towards all that shit. But I'm no longer interested in working towards it because I don't feel like I'm enough. I'm no longer interested in letting my self-worth dictate my path. And that comes with building the capacity to see where I am, where I reject myself, where I'm not okay with life. And swallowing that pill, accepting it,